So how about that name? Yeah, I thought it too. The Superdeep, or just Superdeep, I'm not really sure, they marketed it both ways. Either way, we going super deep in something. It's brought to us by director Arseny Soun, and stars Melina Radulovic as Anya. So The Superdeep is a Russian horror flick that was released last year in Russia, and it finally just got its English dub release here in the States on Shudder. Without ruining anything, it's more or less about this Anya character who is a scientist that's kind of like a government fixer when it comes to like pathogens and pandemics and stuff. It takes place in 1984 Russia, so there is a fair amount of covering things up when this type of thing happens. Now, something's gone horribly wrong at what they call the Superdeep, the world's largest borehole. Now, a borehole is pretty much just a big fucking hole that I don't think is a natural occurrence. I think that they drilled it. It might be a natural occurrence. I'm not 100% sure, but it's a big fucking hole in the earth. This one goes deeper than any other borehole in the world. We got people down there. They're doing stuff like mining and some scientific things and all this, and apparently they came across something and it didn't go over too well. And there is some type of illness involved, so they call in Anya to go down there, figure out what it is, and ultimately, most likely, cover the whole thing up. And that's what she does. She and a team go down there to figure out what it was that these scientists discovered and what exactly this thing did to everybody. And from there, we get this tense thriller slash really fucking nasty body horror that I thoroughly enjoyed. Now let me throw something out there to you guys before we go any further. If you're the type who gets squeamish from nasty things on screen, if body horror and mutilation and just overall general mutilation of human beings is not your thing, do not watch this movie. Sicknesses as well. If sicknesses and the things that they can do to our bodies physically gross you out, don't watch this movie either. Because as this movie goes along, it shows a whole lot of really nasty, graphic shit concerning the human body. And no, not all of it is natural, and it is pretty fucking disgusting. But disgusting in that really twisted good way if you're into body horror. David Cronenberg will be proud here, as will fans of The Thing. Now this movie does have some scares in it, but the vast majority of its horror and its scares come from the fear of this unseen thing and what it can do to your body. Now make no mistake, there are some other things to be fearful of in this borehole, but that's the thing that really freaked me out the most, is getting this disease. I don't really want to go too much into it. It's not just a disease. I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but getting this thing and not knowing it and then finding out and knowing that you're pretty much fucked. Seeing what happens to people that contract this thing, for lack of a better word, is pretty fucking horrifying. Now to me, that was the most terrifying thing of all. Yeah, there's a few things that jump out and there are some more physical threats here or there, but that is what did it for me. That shit really freaks me out. And this movie did a tremendous job of pushing that threat onto you, the viewer. There's nasty, icky, fucked up shit all over the place in this movie, and you'll just feel kind of dirty at times watching it. I know I did. I wanted to take a fucking bath after I watched this. And alcohol and bleach. However, when it comes to this type of film, you gotta have the effects to back it up, and The Superdeep absolutely does. The vast majority of the things that we see on screen are practical. There's some CGI here or there, but most of it is just there to enhance the practical effects. And these effects look fucking awesome in that really nasty, gross, believable way. There's like big pus sores and throbbing giant zits and just limbs detaching and melding and like pus and stuff shooting across the room and all that. And it's fucking disgusting, and it's all 100% real, and that adds to it so much more than if it was CGI. If you look it up, this movie did not have a big budget, especially considering everything they did. They really stretched their dollars or rupees or Dutchy marks or whatever the hell they use really far here. They made this movie look fantastic. I've seen big budget multi-million dollar movies that didn't look this good. Now there are one or two small kinks in the armor when it comes to some of the CGI, but like I said, there's not a lot of CGI here, so there's not a lot of issues with the effects either. Overall, from a technical perspective, this movie looks fantastic, warts and all, literally. Now I haven't talked much about the story because I don't want to give too much away, but I will say that it is very reminiscent of something like The Thing. Not necessarily in the way that like The Thing had everybody paranoid as to who was and wasn't the Thing. No, you pretty much know who is and is not infected, if you will, for lack of a better word, in this movie. But it is very reminiscent of The Thing when it comes to that practical body horror aspect of the film. You got people trapped in a fairly small space with a contagion of sorts out there and some other threats going on and a really big unknown that they need to get to. And of course, for good measure, there is a time limit too, because they all got to get back to the surface by a preordained time. Add all this together and it creates a pretty tense atmosphere for this confined, icky, gross movie. And I really enjoyed the way that they kept us on edge. I liked how they slowly gave us the details and we figured things out with all the characters, until ultimately getting a payoff that gives us the answers that we're looking for. And I did actually really enjoy this movie. Now that being said, the movie does have a few slow parts. The pace of this movie is a bit like a roller coaster. There are times that the movie is moving at 1,000 miles a minute and like you really feel the pressure of this countdown. And then there are other times that people are just kind of chilling, hanging out, taking their time, giving out some exposition that's not really needed. I didn't hate these parts, but admittedly they did really break up the pace and slow things down, and this does happen more than once in the film. With these unneeded scenes in the film, it seems more like an extended director's cut of the tighter paced theatrical version. Now I don't think that's necessarily what happened here, but my point is they probably should have cut some of these slower scenes down some. Maybe not taking them totally out, but at least cut them down some to where we get the information we need and move on, so that we could have had a tighter pace and the movie would have flowed that much better. As it stands, while I did enjoy the film, its biggest heel is the fact that its pace is a bit of a roller coaster, and that will inevitably turn some people off. Everything else though is pretty on point. The performances are all pretty good. Now you gotta understand, I am watching a dubbed version of a Russian film, so there is a bit of the performance that could be lost in that dub depending on how good or bad it is. This dub overall isn't bad. It's not the best dub in the world, but it's far from the worst. It is very doable. There's a weird thing about it though. It seems as if the main character, Anya, is actually speaking English. I would also hazard a guess that the actress that plays Anya, Milana Radlovic, is the one who actually did her voiceover. Her voice out of everyone else's matches the character on screen. But it's not just her voice, it's her lip movements, it's everything about the performance. It sounds and looks like she is actually speaking English. Now everybody else, they did a good job with. It looks pretty good. They did a pretty good job of matching up all their voices and lips. But you can also look and say, yeah, that's not quite that guy's voice, and I can just tell that that's a dub. It's not egregious, but you can tell. But with her, it seems like she's the only one in the movie who is actually speaking the language of English, which is kind of weird. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they just did such a good job with dubbing her that it seems that way, but I'm just saying hers is definitely different than everyone else's. Overall though, for those of you that are hesitant to watch a foreign film that is dubbed, don't worry, because here it's done pretty well. And while at times it is a bit more difficult to judge a dubbed performance, what we did get, what did come through the dub, is all pretty good as well. Guys, the Superdeep was a pretty good, nasty ass, disgusting time. While yes, its roller coaster of a pace did break up the tension at times, it was still an entertaining thriller body horror with some great performances, some fantastic effects, and a great feeling of overall dread throughout the film that makes it absolutely worth a rent.
All he wanted was this.
To return some videotape.
Now this movie was almost just worth streaming. That pace does really break things up and kind of derail some things, especially in the middle portion of the film. Thankfully though, it does just barely eke by, and I think the movie is still a great watch. So if you like you some really gross, nasty body horror and you're looking for a horror flick for the night, then check out the Superdeep, and I think you will be very pleased. If you get grossed out easily though, stay the fuck away from this movie. So there it is guys, my review of Superdeep. That's what she said. I couldn't help it. If you enjoyed and want more content like this, hit that subscribe button and help my little channel grow. If you want to help out the channel, check out my Patreon in the description below and become a jarhead and get some of the awesome benefits that go along with that, like these guys. And possibly join the top tier bad motherfuckers like my man Greg. If you liked what I had to say, give me a like. If not, let me know in the comments below why. And as always, stay sexy, Sokovia. I don't even think that's a real place. So on a side note, I just wanted to say real quick that I was thoroughly surprised when I went to look up material for this review, like poster pictures and video and all that, that when I searched the Superdeep, or just Superdeep, there was a surprising lack of porn that showed up. Because really, with a name like Superdeep, I fully expected when I sat down and searched that to just get porn galore. But no, like none showed up. I was kind of taken back myself. I mean, damn, Pornhub. You slipping.